Hi, I'm Lydia DeLeo, and I am excited to share with you Susan Kroeger, who is a very well-known interior designer here on the North Shore, and has her own store, which we happen to be in, and it's fabulous. And Susan, we'd love to hear more as far as how you got into interior design.
Actually, my degree is in psychology.
Wow.
And I really thought I was going in that direction. I always was interested in home design. And when I was in high school, I completely redid my own room with money that I worked for at a department store. And I put my own carpet down, I made my own draperies, and I put my own wallpaper up. And it was very important to me that I had a beautiful room. So it's sort of like, I don't know, I think this was always in my blood.
Well, I will tell you, this store is just stunning.
Thank you.
So you've been in the business, and how long, when did you start out as an interior designer professionally here?
I don't even know what year it is anymore, but you know, it's like over 25.
25 years,
Yes.
Okay.
And basically what I did when I moved here, I was substitute teaching because we were married and we needed extra money. And I really did not want to get into social work, which is where I was headed in St. Louis. And I was working on my master's, you know, my MSW. So I thought about it, and I had a friend who was a contract interior designer, and I said, how do I get into interior design? And she said, well, you really have to go to school. And I went, well, I think it's a little late for me. And I said, I don't have time to go to school. What else could I do? And she said, why don't you ask some interior designers to critique your work? And I did have a book of work where I had photographed everything I had done and just recorded it. I had done things for my mother, I had done things for friends. So I put it together as a slide presentation because that was state of the art at that time. And I called an interior designer here in Winnetka who was really a grande dame of interior design.
Like grande dame, yeah.
She was. Her name was Betty Lotz.
Okay.
And she was on Lincoln, and she had a beautiful store over there. And it was a store that I used to walk by on Saturday or Sunday and just go, oh, this is the most beautiful, this is the most beautiful, and I wanted one of everything I saw. So
And by the way, that's how I feel about your store.
Oh,
yeah.
well, thank you. Well, she was my inspiration and she was my mentor.
Wow, it's lovely, yeah.
So I went to see her, and I had called her a few times and I never heard from her. And one Saturday morning, she called me, and I was making breakfast. And she said, who are you? Why are you calling me? And she was a very abrupt woman. And I said, well, I'd like you to take a look at my work and critique it for me. And she said, well, can you be here in an hour? And I said, of course. And I dropped everything and ran upstairs, got dressed, and my slide presentation had been sitting on the dining room table for 2 weeks, and picked it up and ran off. And when I got there, she said, well, so I had to sit down and start from scratch, and I told her, and she said, well, let's see what you've got. She said, you know, I have an ad in the paper for a bookkeeper. Are you interested in that? And I said, no. And she said, okay, let's see what you've got. She took a look at everything. She asked me a few questions as we were going through it. And then she said, you know, I am never, ever hiring another assistant because all they do is learn from me and then go off on their own. And I said, okay. And then she said, would you like to be my assistant?
I love it. Well, I will tell you, it is your store, everything, because I've gone into so many homes where I've seen your work. Beautiful. So with that, I know our viewers are interested in learning what is currently trending. What would you say, colors, palettes, anything you want to, just a little?
I usually answer that question by, I don't believe in trends.
Okay.
But there are definitely trends that happen, and they usually occur very slowly. And I've been in the business long enough that I've seen several. When I first started, classical traditional furniture was de rigueur. And I have seen it change, and people no longer want antiques. And yet, antiques were wonderful. People paid great prices for them, and they were their treasures. The young people now do not really want them. A lot of people don't understand them, or they think they're just old and not their style. I mean, these are the tech generation, and they want things that work like technology.
Well, let me ask you, because I'm hearing new traditional. Do you, or transitional? Those seem to be the.
Transitional is the word,
yeah,
but
yeah.
actually that word has been around for 10 years.
Okay.
So it's really
So I'm not
new.
really current as far as that's kind of,
No.
yeah. All right.
No,
All right.
and actually we are kind of still in the throes of transitional, but what I am seeing happen is I am seeing antiques as an accent piece come back on the scene. And things are calm, they're coordinated, they are not jumpy, or they're not too busy. And then a few items that are sort of out of this look or traditional. It might be a French piece, it might be an English piece. They're placed as if they were a piece of fine sculpture. And I have to say, they are so beautiful because their lines are so classic. And if you really look at furniture today, all of the lines of furniture really are mostly derived from antiques and the things that go back to Greek and Roman times.
Right, right, right.
There's a bench on the floor here, that little black one. That's actually a Greek bench.
Wow.
And you
yeah.
can actually find it in old drawings
Interesting. Wow.
with that exact shape.
Right. Well, I'm always a believer. If you find something you love, get it, and you can incorporate it into your decor, like you said, with some really interesting pieces. Well, let me ask you then, how does one go about as far as if they want to get in touch with you? How do they learn more about your business?
Well, I think I'm pretty out there in terms of anybody who wants to know anything about me. Besides that, they could come talk to me. They could email me.
And the address here is?
Is 886 Green Bay Road. That's Winnetka in Hubbard Woods, which is a small part of Winnetka. And the zip code is 60093.
And online too, right?
Yes.
They can go as far as.
Susan Kroeger for the home.
Wonderful.
Or Susan at susankroeger.com.
Okay, wonderful. Well, Susan, thank you so much for your time today. This really was so fun to learn more about your business and how you got into it. So thank
I'm
you.
disappointed. I could go on for another 20 minutes.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.